What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. So I have a few hours this morning because we're waiting on parts for one of the current customer builds, and then we're picking up another customer bike later this afternoon. So I wanted to put these couple of hours to use on the 69 Camaro. So we are doing a full LS, T56, and 9-inch swap in this car. So the entire drivetrain needs to come out. It does hurt my heart a little bit that this is a fully functioning, running, driving car right now. But I think the LS swap and everything will be worth it. So what I want to start off with is removing the fuel injection system. So this car does have a Phytech EFI system on it. I want to just kind of methodically remove all of the components to that system and put them in one box. That way, you know, should we want to use this on a future build, we can. If we want to sell it, whatever. I just want all those components to be together. After that, we can start to do, all the normal engine removal stuff, draining the coolant, starting to pull the radiator out, and just kind of, everything must go. So I got to start removing stuff, but I want to do it in a smart way so that we're not kind of mixing and matching stuff, and we're not going to mess anything up, because ultimately this drivetrain will be put into another car, whether that be my Model A or have some other ideas. So I want to keep it kind of as complete as possible, and obviously need to take some time not to hurt the car. When we pulled the LS motor out of the GTO, it was like pry bars and everything just to get it out, because the car was basically going to be scrapped after that anyway. Enough intro, let's get to work. Got the Phytech system all pulled off. Came off really easy, no issues whatsoever. Even the O2 sensor and everything came off easy. It was only on there for about a year. Overall, I was pretty happy with that system, but it's nothing compared to a modern LS fuel-injected motor. So we got everything organized, ready to go on to another project. I'm going to move on to draining fluid. So we're going to put a container under the radiator, start to drain all the coolant out. We'll drain the oil, and then we'll move on to kind of just smaller stuff, pulling off spark plug wires, and just getting this thing kind of stripped down and ready to be pulled out. Making some good progress here. Obviously radiator and fan, all the lines including the heater hoses and everything are pulled out. I got rid of a lot of the gauges, so the coolant temp gauge, oil pressure, throttle cable, a lot of the stuff that was kind of going through the firewall. Pulled all that through and put it away, because we're not going to be able to use it on the LS. Distributor cap, all that's off. So I think a good next step is going to be to hopefully pull out these headers. That way we can kind of make some more room. Then we can also drain the power steering fluid, so that's not going to go leaking all over the place. Well, I'm at a stopping point right now. I got everything torn down, everything's disconnected from the motor, all the clutch linkage and everything is all out, drive shaft, everything underneath. So the only thing holding this in still is the transmission cross member and motor mounts. And those three things, we're out. So I'm at a stopping point right now because I need to have somebody come over and help me take the hood off. And then it's probably a good idea for me to have a spare set of hands pulling this out too, just to help guide stuff. And if I got to use a pry bar, and somebody can man the engine hoist and pick up the transmission to clear the front and everything, it just makes more sense to wait until I have some help. So I'm going to do that. Pause the video for now, and I'll bring you guys back when we have a hand. So as you saw in the time lapse, we were able to get the motor out. Happy to report we didn't have any catastrophic issues or permanent damage to the car, which is always good whenever you have a nice heavy engine transmission combo hanging out over the front end here. It came out nice and easy, so no complaints there. I did pull the rear wheels off because, like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be replacing this 10 bolt. Then I had the thought of, okay, now that the engine is out, this is probably a really good time for me to go through and degrease and kind of pressure wash this whole engine bay. So I'm going to end up throwing those wheels back on so we can roll this thing outside, coat it down with some degreaser, just pressure wash it all out. One, it'll be easier and nicer to work on when the new engine's going in. Two, this is something you can't really do when the engine's installed, so you might as well knock it out now. Which leads me down to a lot of the work that's going to be done on this car over the next week or two is going to be little fiddly things that are just easier to do now. I want to clean up a lot of this wiring, tuck a lot of it kind of in the fender well and just, clean it up a lot. I want to replace the subframe bushings. It's going to be easier to do that now that the engine's out. I also want to kind of just go through and make sure all the steering and everything is all nice and tight, kind of nut and bolt everything, and go from there. We may end up doing a little bit of touch-up paint and that kind of stuff, but I really don't care for this engine bay to be perfect. This car is never intended to be a show car. This is going to be something I want to, drive very hard, and that's probably going to lead to, maybe blowing up an engine or two, and we're going to end up pulling stuff in and out of here. And the idea here is I just clean it up and make it decent, but we don't care for it to be perfect. So that's going to be kind of what I'm going to work on over the next, I would say, week or two. And then obviously the 10 bolt needs to come out. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to say we're halfway, but I think we just passed the first checkpoint. We still have quite a bit of work to do. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the progress we've made. The project is definitely coming along. I would love to have this car on the road in October. That's when the temperature actually starts to come down to a reasonable level here in Texas, and I really want to have this car kind of sorted and drivable, or I can actually just go out and beat the crap out of it next month. So that's the goal. So I'm going to continue to kind of work on this thing. Some of the work I'm going to do just kind of off camera, just in the interest of time, but I'll make sure to document any of the kind of important pieces or anything I learn that will be relevant for you guys as I go along. Just because I know some of you do have Camaros and are planning to do this swap as well. So I want to make sure I teach you what I learn as I go. But a lot of the time it's going to be an hour here or there. I'm just going to fix one wire. I'm going to clean a little piece, and ideally we'll have this thing ready to have the LS motor dropped in. I would hope within the next 2 weeks or so. I do still need to figure out what I want to run for a radiator. I want to use the GTO fans that I got, so I'm probably just going to find a Mishimoto or some kind of quality radiator that's the same size as the fans that came out of the GTO, and just kind of use that combo. But we'll see. Luckily, in these old cars, I have all the room in the world, so if we want to go with something a little bit wider than what was stock or whatever, we can make our own brackets and make it work. So, as always, I appreciate you guys following along. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you on the next video.